Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right. I think if you could make, sorry, can you say again, was it Ashley could be host? I just see,
I could be host, Embry or Margaret,
okay,
either one.
Host. Okay, let's see.
Or anybody really.
okay. I don't know where I got Ashley from. Okay, you should be good to go. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
Thanks,
all.
Jody.
So we good. So the general idea is the challenges of engineering and public health surveillance and services due to cold water engineering in cold regions. We can start with a bit of the context, the infrastructure levels and levels of service in Greenland and Nunavik. A lot of that will be based on the PhD thesis that we did with Pernille. And then technical challenges summed up in general that are shared between the Arctic and mountain regions. So I'm trying to get collaboration more often on that. And then something about the wastewater-based epidemiology in Nunavik and the latest news. So the context, I think we know that, but there are 4 million people living in the Arctic. Most of them are minorities in their countries, so they are not well seen in the national data. They are typically underserved compared to the country they live in, but because those countries are officially highly developed, they don't get any aid from international aid or this sort of things. Just the Inuit region of the Arctic, there are 117 communities that are underserved in terms of drinking water and sewage systems already. And then there are 40 more different kinds of indigenous populations in the Arctic also. But my work is mostly in this region. This is Inuit Nunangat, that's the Inuit part of Canada. And then here is Quebec, and the northern half of Quebec is Nunavik. So that's where I'm working right now. There's 14 communities called villages, but they go from 200 to almost 3,000 people each. And then Greenland looks like this. It's about half of the size of Europe. And there are 52 villages, the circles on the left on the coast, and 17 towns. The country is mostly covered in ice caps, so nobody in the middle. And typically there are no roads and no grids. So this is to give an idea of the scale. Here, this one, they have one helicopter or boat that goes every week. And after that, for public transport, there's nothing organized. They have to manage on their own. So they have no grid for either electricity or water and no roads, and they have to manage everything locally. And that's going to be the same most places. On the state of infrastructure, this is the capital city in Greenland, Nuuk. It's by far the largest city. It's almost 20,000 people. They mostly have piped water and piped sewage piped out of the homes and directly into the sea. And Pernille, correct me if I'm wrong, but even in Nuuk still today, I think there's no treatment, right?
But there will be in 2 months.
Oh, so we have an update after that. Do you want to talk now or?
No, please continue.
Okay. Well, so until 2 months from now, there is no treatment. Things have been tried. And then for waters from the melt, I think it just goes straight down in the sea. It's not mixed with sewage. And then we have the other 16 towns, between 500 and 5,000 people. Fewer homes are piped. There are still some, but they often also have a tank inside and then the lamp on the outside. And when it goes red, the truck comes and fills it. And you can also have a tank for wastewater under the house that gets pumped out by a truck. And then in Greenland, they will empty that in the sea. And here in Nunavik, they empty it in lagoons that are man-made lakes. They can be 2 or 3 in a row. This is Kuujjuaq. The city is here. And then the truck comes at the edge and empties the water. And this is entirely wastewater. It's never been a lake. So one of the projects we have is to test how efficient that is and how clean the effluent is after a few years. And then in the villages in Greenland, most of the houses are not piped. So most people will collect their water from a public tap outside. And then that obviously limits the amount that they collect because it's tiring and slippery and difficult for older people. And then it's stored inside the house in containers that are often not made for it, those jugs. or difficult to clean inside. And so we see that water quality degrades. We find biofilms inside, especially since they don't use chlorine in the villages in Greenland. And then for hand washing, because there's no piped water, they have to just rub soapy water on their hands that everybody shares and dry directly without rinsing. And that's a route of transmission for pathogens. And Brady, you want to say something?
What is the source of the drinking water?
We'll get to that. It's mostly surface water in Greenland, and I think also in Nunavik. I'm still working on that. It's mostly lakes, and then there is some seawater desalination.
Oh,
And yeah. And then also alternative sources that people pick from nature. That's their favorite drinking water, often, especially the pieces of iceberg that float around. You melt them in the house and drink. And it's part of resilience and food security, etc. So it's a very interesting practice. It's not what we are talking about today, but just for the record, it's a very common practice in the Arctic. And then you have a service house in villages for shower and laundry. People have to pay, but they can go there to use that. The gray water, now we get to the fun stuff, that just goes out of the house directly onto the streets and melts and freezes there, and everything melts in the spring at once. Either it's flat like this, or you have a pile out by the house. And we've been breaking off pieces to test them a few times randomly, and there was E. coli in half of them. And black water is a bucket with a plastic bag, and then you put the bag out in that red box outside when you're done, and somebody will come pick it up, take it out to the sea, empty it in the sea. In this case, they have cars, otherwise they use ATV. And then here you can see this is a village in the north. The bags are here waiting, and somebody will come and stand at the edge here and just slash them open, and the sea will take care of it. So right now, that's what we're doing. So a few numbers in Greenland. In the villages, only 20% of the homes are piped. The other 80% are not. Most of them can have access to a tap house, but there are 2 villages where they don't even have treated water distributed. So that means that the daily consumption per capita in the towns is still in the optimal level, 114 liters per day per person. In the villages, it's down to 29, or was a few years ago when we did that study. And in the villages, the piped homes actually use a bit more, and the unpiped use only 13 liters per day per person, plus some from the shared buildings, the service house. So we're somewhere around the basic level of access, which is in theory associated with high levels of risk for health. And obviously, because there's very little water available, things like flush toilets and digesters are not easily set up. And this is on Inuit Nunangat, so the whole Inuit region of Canada. Altogether, there are 51 settlements, villages. Most of them rely on trucks exclusively for both drinking water and sewage. 5 of them have piped homes, and the other 5 have a mix of pipes and trucks, or equivalents of tap houses. And then there's a system that means that if your wastewater has not been emptied by a truck, you cannot really use the pump on the drinking water anymore. So you have to get both the tanks constantly at the right level to be able to use them. Embry?
I'm so sorry, but my husband is an economist who does this, but in hotter climates. So I have a pricing question because I hear about this all the time.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Is there a cost for the water distribution and the trucking for both sanitation and what? How is that managed economically?
So Pernille, tell me if I'm forgetting something, but in Greenland, there is a fixed price for water because some villages are extremely expensive. They have to go get pieces of icebergs on the sea ice with a truck and melt it in the middle of winter. So it's very expensive. So they've decided on a fixed price for the whole country if you have it piped. And then if you take it from a tap house, it's free. And as for the truck delivery, I think in some places in Greenland, in towns, they can't have that. You have to pay, I think, for the delivery. In Nunavik, I'm not sure what the cost is, but I assume there is a cost. Pernille, do you have any information on that?
No, I don't know exactly what it costs, but yeah, but it's more expensive for the water supply company with the truck water than the piped water. So they prefer to have everyone piped.
And about the trucks, in Nunavik right now, we have an emergency. Well, the state of emergency has just been lifted, but it's been going on for months because the trucks can break down or the weather also can freeze the pipes. And so right now we've been having this thing in Pevanitok, where there was no, so the pipe from the well where the trucks get the water from froze. And so they had to drive all the way to the well and back, which takes an hour each way, I think. And for months they had to do that. So people were not served enough. They couldn't even stop the fire anymore. A doctor resigned from the hospital because the conditions were too degraded. They have just installed a temporary pipe as an emergency measure, but they say that it will take a year and millions of dollars to fix that. So just an example of the trucks breaking down, the system for the trucks. Yes, and why did I put this again? So the sum up of the technical challenges, so we have a sparse population with no roads and no grids. We have typically surface water, which can be turbid, has unstable quality depending on the season and can be polluted easily. And or seawater, which is expensive. They don't like the taste. They can tell what it is, and it's corrosive, so it brings out rust and people don't trust it. So we have this acceptability issues with both the sources and the treatments. And then we have distance to labs for testing. Sometimes the samples arrive too late and can no longer be tested. And the supply chain obviously is limited, and you need to do with what you have on site. And then we have a slope in most villages in Greenland between 10 and 70 meters. So the roads are often narrow when there is any. And so here, for instance, this village, they don't have even pickup trucks, they use ATVs. If we put the pipes underground, we have permafrost that becomes unstable when water is above 0 degrees. So it makes the ground unstable above, or it's rocky and expensive to dig. And if we put the pipes above the ground, it impedes the movements of population and vehicles. And of course, it's going to freeze. Here we see the insulation and the cables that are supposed to be for heating, I think, but this one froze. It's gray water. And then this is the sewage outlet from a whole neighborhood of Sisimiut and the hospital included. And you can see the wastewater melting the ice here. And because seawater freezes at minus 1.6 or something Celsius, if we try to put a really long pipe to get that out of town or at the bottom of the fjord, it's going to have to be heated all the time, roughly. I don't even know if it's possible. And then we have, in general, the freezing of the buttons can get stuck. And then we have a plate of ice around the tap houses that people have to walk across to get here and then back with the water. And there's a precipice. So yeah, it limits the access and consumption. Source protection. In some regions in the north, it's still done, I think, also, unless there's an update. But that the waste dump is being burnt in open air. And here we can see the smoke going over towards the drinking water lake. And there's also activities with sleds, dog sleds, snowmobiles, and such, all around the cities. And then we have institutional challenges because the sewage systems and the drinking water are managed by different institutions. And they have to be developed at the same time. Here in this village, someone had told us that she didn't want to pipe her house to drinking water until they had a sewage system first, because otherwise there would be 4 times more of the gray water going on the street. And the sewage system that was offered was not good enough because there was no treatment and they fish around the island, so they didn't want to put all the shit in one place. And then cultural aspects. So this, Pernilla could talk much more about that, but some toilets have been tried in different villages, like composting toilets from Sweden, I think. And they were done for, let's say, 4 or 8 people. But then in Greenland, you have something called Kaffemik in English. It's like an open doors day, whenever there's a celebration, a birthday, anything. And so the systems have to be able to withhold suddenly 100 or 200 people in the house on the same day. So you cannot just have a toilet made for 4 people. If we design systems, we have to make them suitable for the cultural concept also, context, sorry. So now we come to the project in Nunavik. So public health challenges, obviously, we have limited water quantity for washing, hand washing, no flush in the toilets. So people, the users and the workers are exposed to these bags and what's in them. And then water quality also. And then we have no sewage pipes. Even in Nunavik, where they have flush toilets, they have a tank and the truck comes. And because there are no pipes, we cannot use the usual wastewater-based epidemiology method of sampling in the pipe to know what's in the community. So what we are doing here is developing a new method for unsewered communities in Nunavik. How do we test when it comes out of the truck? And how do we know which houses have been pumped just before that sampling? So this is the team. Billy Watt, he's the driver, chief of the drivers in Kudjuak. And then Stephanie from here, Ottawa, these two. And then this is the Regional Health Board of Nunavik. And then this is an appeal by the 14 mayors of the Nunavik communities just recently, because there is a record numbers of tuberculosis going on right now in the region in recent history. And so they've called on for help about that because they say they're not served as well as other parts of the country. So we are focusing specifically on TB, but not only, there's also other infectious diseases. And so essentially we set up camp by the lagoon here, and we wait for the trucks to come and we sample them one by one and try to keep track of what's in each of them. It comes out normally quite brutal like this. There's just a pipe and it's out. And so it's a bit difficult to sample. So we've developed, or the team has developed a sampler that we attach between the truck and the normal pipe. And it has a little tap on the side here, which allows us to go from the big usual mess to this, this small tap here. But this was the first time we tried them on site with real wastewater, and half of the time they didn't really work. So in the end, we still take the samples from the end. We ask the driver to lower the flow for a few seconds and then back on and off again. But when it's a quiet day, it works. But when it's like this, like that was the second day, the wind was a bit intense. That's a lot harder. And they can be 4 trucks in a row. So the person, like here, I'm protected from the wind, but the person sampling the next truck is right in that. So in the end, we want to ask the drivers themselves to do the sampling regularly and send the samples to Ottawa. Obviously, they will not do it when it's like this. We were covered in plastic from head to toe and we got splashed all over anyway. So they will not be anywhere near this. So we need to keep developing the system better. But then when we do get the samples, we let them settle in buckets. We take something like 20 liters if we can, and then we get the solids from the bottom because it was expected it would be easier to find certain types of signals in the solid parts. And then we're happy because we are done. So most of there are 4 main things we need to develop is household water storage that is easy to clean, hand washing systems, at least a local running water point, that should be easy to do, but just in case for ideas. Gray water, I'm thinking either biosand filters or planted beds if we keep it separate, or we mix it with the black water and then we turn it into maybe a digester or something. And black water has been identified as the main priority by everyone in Greenland that I contacted. We need it to be low cost and low tech because of the supply chain and the resources, financial resources also in some households. We take into account limited water availability unless we can use seawater in those systems, but otherwise it's very limited. And I would like to be resource smart, like either reusing nutrients as nutrients or we use them as combustibles or something else. So yeah, these are just little reminder on the rights to water and sanitation. Mostly focused right now on the socially and culturally acceptable aspect that is not typically included in development. I think not enough at least. And that's it for the technical side. And so the latest news within the Sustainable Sanitation Alliance, SuSanA, I've just created this cold climate sanitation working group, which with Tobias Ulbrich. And so the idea is to share knowledge and best practices between polar and mountain regions. The SuSanA network is like 15,000 people, I think, worldwide. It's mostly forums to discuss different aspects of sanitation. And working group 4 is technologies. 4.1 is called climate sanitation, and we're going to have webinars every 3 months where somebody will present either a challenge they have or a solution they could share. We're going to have the person in charge of the French Antarctic scientific base in December. Yeah, so the group is open to everyone. And then we have also the European Congress on Circular Sanitation that is being organized for the 2nd time. First one was 2 years ago in Switzerland. It started with just a gathering of national networks of ecological sanitation from 3 countries. And then now it's turning into a European size Congress. So we have people from Sweden coming this year, and Spain and Austria already, and so on. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I'm coming in late, but this is awesome.
Hey,
Thanks
how you
for
doing?
sharing, Judith.
So that was a lot of different things. I'm sorry, it's a bit of a mess, but
That's awesome. Every time I come to this thing, I learn something new. It's awesome.
yeah. I would have thought most people, I mean, you already knew everything, but great.
No, I mean, I had no idea. I mean, it didn't even occur to me piped and trucked water. It didn't even occur, like I wasn't on my radar.
Mhm.
But yeah, and wastewater-based epidemiology when you have
Yeah, so the main challenge we have, ironically,
brain.
it's not even the technical one, it's the human factor of finding out which houses have been pumped just before they came. That's actually the hardest thing we're trying to figure out, because they don't feel the sheets very reliably. If we put a GPS, it's very indiscreet, because we know where they took their breaks and stuff, and or they don't turn it on and off, or yeah. So there are many things we're trying to figure out how to figure out where they're going without making their day complicated, without being intrusive. And yeah, it's because we're aiming for 100% of the houses. We would like apparently to have all of them, because we don't want to miss any case in the community. If it's infectious, we need to know. And so, yeah.
What are the pathogens that you're looking for in the epidemiological survey?
In this case, mostly TB, tuberculosis, because it's a problem in the region, especially right now, but also, so there's a COVID, influenza, AB, whatever. I'm not the doctor in this project, so, and then there are quite a few sexually transmitted diseases also, syphilis and so on.
Interesting. What is this treatment that's going to be available in 2 months?
Yes, over to
Dr.
Pernille.
It's the most basic treatment. It's a filter to take out particles,
Okay.
like litter. And the plan is to run with a 3mm filter. I can just share. I took a photo last week in Nuuk of the
I got a
brain.
couple more comments on that thing.
It's here. Ta-da!
We don't see, we don't see.
Don't see.
You don't see it?
No, it almost worked, but
It almost worked. Well, that's not enough. I try again. Yeah. Better?
Getting
Almost.
closer
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
much better.
So it's a very simple filter, and it's actually 100% identical to one that was installed 1.5 years ago in Longyearbyen in Svalbard, so a commercial one. But in Nuuk, they plan to run with a smaller sieve, the 3mm sieve, so we should take out all litter and larger particles. And what they need now is just for the last electrical installations, and then they want an entrepreneur to empty, and no entrepreneurs have been opting in for taking that job. So that's why I say it might take a couple of months still to have it running, because of course they don't want to have it running without having someone who wants to empty it. So
Where would you empty it?
yeah, I mean, you in this pink bag, you
Mhm.
would have all the particles,
Mhm.
right? So it would, and someone needs to come take that bag and take it to the incineration plant in the town.
How often do we expect?
Incinerated. And the municipality doesn't want to do that themselves. And apparently the entrepreneurs are not in line to do it either.
Sorry, folks, I have to go. Sorry.
Oh, that's quick.
Ciao.
Okay, bye, Nate. And
How-
but what I know is also that, I mean, they have at least 12 outlets in Nuuk to the sea of piped wastewater, and this is on one of the larger ones. And they also have now financing for putting a filter on a second one. So I would assume if it goes well that they will have filters on all outlets within a decade or so. That would be realistic. And
And then how often do we expect that the bank needs to be emptied?
well, in Svalbard, he said that it was like once a week.
Oh,
But since we run with the smaller size here, it might be more often. Yeah, I think practice experience needs to be to give us the right answer. But at least that's one step ahead.
Is there the same practice in these villages? So that we spent a lot of time talking about in Alaska that because of the raw quality of the sewage that's in the house, that they put chemicals in that plastic bag to keep the stench down, and they put some they oftentimes it can be a double as a trash receptacle. Are there similar things like that in these villages with chemical addition to those plastic bags? And
there used to be some years ago. I don't know if they still do.
They do where they have the honey buckets, but here in Nuuk we're talking sewer wastewater, and so that would just be normal toilet cleaning chemicals like we all use at home at limited amounts. But when you go to the smaller villages where they don't have pipe water, they always add this disinfectant, which is probably not so good for having anaerobic digestion going on.
Judith, I was interested when you said something about they were burning some of the rubbish and it was heading over towards the clean water and stuff. So in addition to some of the sort of the epidemiology stuff, are you guys going to be looking for other things? I don't know, chemicals or organic compounds or even antimicrobial resistance stuff or anything like that? Is there other things that you plan on looking at?
I think there's something about volatile organic compounds, but so the fire I showed, that's in Greenland, and it used to be everywhere, and now it's mostly in the north. Other villages send their waste to be burned in a clean way in the south for heating. In Nunavik, I'm not sure at what frequency they burn the waste. Sometimes there's a dump fire that starts and they cannot stop, but it's not meant to be. So I'll have to check that. I can check the exact list of all the things we're testing and send it to you guys by email or something. I've heard about volatile compounds, organic volatile compounds, but I'm not sure what the list is exactly.
Can I ask, is there any regulation at all? Like the thing that blows my mind the most, and I work in Alaska, is seeing, just pipes just spewing completely untreated sewage into like natural water bodies. Are there any regulations about that, or is that like blessed by the government? Or
Pernille?
Yeah, no regulation in Greenland on this, apart from the wastewater legislation giving the National Environmental Authority the possibility to require treatment if they deem a recipient being impacted. But since there is not any impact evaluation of the recipients done, and that is also not required in legislation, then this has not been done so far. No, so there's no requirement to treat wastewater. So it's all experimental. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, on that note, what problem does this filter solve? In other words, it's a form of treatment, but what are you trying to solve by removing those solids?
The purpose is to reduce the visibility of the wastewater coming out, floating items on the surface, but mostly the litter. We actually did a study recently where we investigated the plastic in the wastewater in the Greenland, and we saw quite a large number of wet wipes being discharged with the wastewater. 2 tons a year was a rough estimation in Greenland in total, and we can clearly also see it on the seabed. That was actually what I was doing in Nuuk last week. We had an underwater drone filming all the wet wipes on the seabed. So
Can we see that? Can we see that?
priority? I will see if I have some of the pictures. Yes, I'll let you know when I found them here.
Like a feature film of wet wipes under the sea.
One of my friends is a big campaigner against flushable wipes, and he would get a big kick out of it. Just again assembling a portfolio of arguments against flushable wipes.
Flushable, yeah, it's funny because you kind of imagine that people would actually have tested this. You know, when we talk about end of life for some of these things, and when they go end of life, you know, a lot of these guys that are saying, oh, we're terribly green about this, that, and the other thing, they actually never look at the disposal into the environment. They stop at you know, when it hits the consumer. And it surprised me because we've had a few webinars on this, and it was like, hold it, like the really big corporations stop at the moment it's sort of handed to the consumer and don't look at anything else.
Yeah, they can absolve themselves of responsibility.
Yeah, and that's a classic example, isn't it? Classic.
Almost all wipes in the EU are marked as non-flushable, but that does not prohibit them apparently from entering the sewer. And even the ones that are marked as biodegradable are not biodegradable in a natural environment. They are partly biodegradable in a biogas plant or a composting facility, but not in nature. So people misunderstand this. And even if you buy those, let's say, bamboo or cotton wipes, a significant fraction of the wipe is plastic, because they have to sort of treat the material with plastic surface, cover the material with plastic to make it durable. And it also has lots of chemicals, right, for the wiping. So yeah, we shouldn't put them in the sea.
And in fact, I think a lot of the ones are not even biodegradable in anaerobic digestion. They are only biodegradable in industrial composting, which is, you know, it doesn't work in your normal compost heap either. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it'd be lovely to see those pictures if you're able to share.
Yeah.
Lovely and horrifying. But
yeah, horrifying.
So interesting.
Good ammunition for the campaign.
Yes. Yes.
So we're supposed to hear from Jasmine afterwards.
She wrote that she can't make it, so
Yep.
regrettably.
Bad, it looked interesting.
Yeah, so we'll try to get her on the next agenda. I guess a couple other things. I'm gonna drop an item in the chat, maybe also for consideration on the next agenda. I wondered if before I got here, we had any updates. I didn't listen in, but I was, we had the NATO update. Wondered if Wilder or Ramey got a chance to introduce themselves or say anything about what they've been up to. Meanwhile, I'm going to drop in the chat a possible topic for another agenda. Oh, too many words. I'll have to put it in 2 chats. Sorry. Yeah, so over to you, Wilder or Ramey, if you didn't have a chance, it'd be nice to hear.
Yeah, I can start real quick. I was here last Cold High Anaerobic meeting, but I'm an intern at that NREL in Fairbanks. So I've been working with Annie on the pilot experiment here. like we heard earlier, it's just got water in it right now, but we've been collecting a lot of temperature data on the 4 digester like heating setups that we have. And so starting to get into the phase where I can do some data analysis on seeing the temperature fluctuations. So yeah, if anyone has, also on that note, if anyone has advice on, what sort of indicators or like statistical indicators of temperature data would be good for seeing like the viability of a stable anaerobic digestion reactions happening, that would be great.
What do you
to
mean
hear
by
about.
what do you mean by that? Would you
Um,
say temperature indicators? What do you mean?
yeah, sorry. I can basically what I have is just the temperature of the water in the digesters over a day or over like every hour of the day. Trying to be able to parse that into like something that would be useful in future digester experiments around temperature fluctuations. So my ideas with that have been to try to pick out, what's the biggest like change in temperature over a day in each digester, like if they're changing by 10 degrees in a day versus 5 degrees in a day, will that kill all the bacteria or will they be fine? Um, and so, oh, so how much water is in the digesters? That's a good question, actually. I should check that there. I think they might be 55-gallon drums, but I should clarify that, but around that range. And each one, so there's 4 different heating setups. There's one that's in like a passive solar greenhouse. So it's just sitting in the sun when it's sunny. That one sees a lot of temperature fluctuation because it gets a lot colder at night. It's not insulated at all, but it gets a lot of sun in the day. And then there's another one that's being heated by a thermal blanket from solar panels. So that one's a lot more insulated and sees a lot less temperature fluctuation. And then there's also a control outside that's just, not insulated at all, but is gets some direct sunlight. So that one sees like a different amount of temperature fluctuation. So I guess the main thing that I've been trying to take away from that is, what can we learn from just seeing how the different temperature fluctuations work and would that, you know, would that enable or kill anaerobic bacteria? But yeah,
Won't
so
kill
that's
them.
yeah.
It
What are you
won't-
shaking your head, Embray? Shake,
It
shake.
won't kill them. It won't kill the critters,
Okay.
but it'll just piss them off. Because
My impression is that the slower you change the temperature, the better. So it's
Yeah.
just going to be really interesting while they're to see your data, right? Like how fast are things changing? And I mean, I don't know whether you're sampling biology or not, but you might be able to see, oh, this is too fast or this is not too fast.
Yeah, I think so. The hope was originally to be able to also be sampling the biology, but because it's just water in the tanks, we haven't been able to do that aspect of it this summer. But we're also trying to, oh, what was that?
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say something, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna add, I've been working with Jasmine some to hopefully use some of the modeling that she's been doing for anaerobic digestion and have like a temperature input to that. And so with the goal being that we could take some of the temperature data from up here and like use that. I'm not totally sure like how the model works, but she's been super helpful and we're trying to see if we can put the temperature data into the model and see how it reacts. So that's been exciting.
I was going to say there's, I mean, I tend to run my digester from about 20-ish in wintertime to about 40-ish in summertime, but it's insulated. So I would agree with Embry and Alex on those, you know, trying to minimize the changes as much as you can by insulating them, because that the biology, you're not going to have optimal biology there for sure. I mean, there's I've just done a quick search and there's quite a bit of papers there on digester temperature fluctuation. I didn't have a look at the detail, but certainly trying to minimize that, because your gas production is going to be probably adversely affected. But they're pretty strong critters. But again, you know, it's that sort of having them completely under stress. And what you're in danger of is if it drops too low for too long a time, then you kind of lose process for a bit, and then you have to be a little bit gentle on reestablishing process. Because I've done that. I've ended up shooting myself in the foot by going, okay, well, we'll let it get down. I'm really quite cold, and then struggling to reestablish process.
Yeah, and the eventual goal of this experiment was that it would be able to freeze over the winter and then thaw in the summer and digest, or to test the viability of that in Alaska, because the heating's so expensive. And so, yeah, we're hoping we can get some actual biological testing done in the future to see if that is really possible. But
and again, it is because you've got an established process in there, you just have to be quite careful to, when you ramp up again, on feeding. Like, you can't just take a digester that has been starved and frozen all winter or whatever and ramp it up. And funny enough, you've just made me think I could probably find some back of the fag packet practical information on that, to give you a rule of thumb to at least sort of start operating by, unless anybody has any.
Or do you have data from yours, and you know what your experience was like? I don't know if you're taking any data.
Yeah, when you're working at this thing, we're not dated up to the eyeballs, but just as a sort of you know, from what I know, I mean, we've always kind of said you don't take it up by more than 1 degree a day, and then once you reach temperature, you can feed. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because if you have an established process, you can actually take it up quite quickly up to temperature. Even if it's been frozen or sitting around for 6 months or something without being heated, you can actually take it up much faster, because there has been an established process. But again, there's a rule of thumb, and I'll try and see if I can find that, because mine is gut feeling, but there are some better established rules of thumb.
yeah, anything like that would be fantastic.
I mean, speaking of gut feeling, the thing which is a hilarious and apt metaphor, you just have to think of a digester as you, right? If you've been a vegetarian for 20 years, you don't go eating a steak right out of the gate, right? Like that's gonna give you problems. So if it's been operating a certain way for a while, and your microbiome is established to operate that way for a while, you cannot just shift the feeding cycle or the temperature or anything really dramatically, because you wouldn't like that either, right? It's the same, it's just same guys, it's the same principle.
Yeah. Or if you've been fasting for 2 months or 3 months, you know, you can't just immediately take 2 roast beef meals.
Giant spaghetti and meatballs dinner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Great. Well, yeah, thank you guys. Anything you send over is appreciated.
And on this whole temperature thing, if I remember right, Jaime Marti just finished a paper on this temperature something or other, I think. So I'm sensing a conversion of convergence of knowledge here between your data, potentially both of yours data. Jasmine maybe has data, and the Swiss people with their weatherized project, what's their data? It could be pretty interesting finding out. Yeah, and maybe Angie, some of those papers already addressed this, but I think this is pretty damn interesting to me. And yeah, you could just manage your digester using your knowledge and a rule of thumb and 1 degree C per day or whatever, and yet it'd be really cool to have the data. Sorry, I'm excited.
Data is always exciting. Wilder, were you there during the Swiss digester presentation?
No, I've only been to one of the previous meetings before.
Alex,
So.
could you drop those guys in the chat? I know we have a recording of them.
Yes, it's I'll put I just sent it yesterday actually to Angie, I think. Angie, did I send you that link on? Yeah. So I'll go into that email and drop the link for to the YouTube. I think it was April for the Swiss people. So yeah, I'll put that in the chat. Wow, this IR pick thing, wow, it's just so powerful.
We've also kind of used gas production as well. So for example, if you run the numbers and you think, okay, I'm expecting this amount of gas from this feedstock, and you're producing less gas, then essentially what you do is you feed that proportion of the feedstock to the gas you're producing. So, you put something in a bucket, you close it up, it starts to produce a bit of gas. You think, okay, I've put that much food in, I should be producing, this amount of gas. And you just kind of up the feed every day until you get the right gas amount. And that's more or less what the gut feeling is. It's a sort of what Embry was saying about not overfeeding somebody who's been starving or been a vegetarian or something, and looking at the gas production because and the gas quality. So if you're monitoring gas quality, you can see if you've fed too much and the microbes aren't ready for it, you'll have a big drop in gas quality and your carbon dioxide will go up. Your carbon dioxide concentration will go up. So once you get that process established, you can then feed properly, but you can't just feed immediately.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you all for all the suggestions.
Anything else? That's right. Wolfgang. My mom was going to name me Wolfgang if I'd been born.
Seem very cheerful today, Amber.
We got the NATO funding.
How long is that project?
2 or 3 years.
Okay.
2 or 3 years. Yeah. I told Margaret and Jane that when Lily IM'd me on LinkedIn and said we got it, and I think my husband thought that I'd broken a rib because I was screaming so loud in the so excited. He's like, what's going on? So yeah, it's very exciting.
That is indeed a long name, the Swiss one. Well, I want to try Jaime's technology in Greenland now.
Yeah.
I'm looking at fundings to put a project together.
The sausages,
Point, yeah, could be
the
sausage.
tube digester. Yeah.
I don't discriminate on the shape. Works. But I think it needs to be black. So as soon as we have sun and less snow cover, it heats itself with the sun. And we'll see how it works.
His most recent paper dispelled that idea. And it's because the sun hits the black bag, but between the black bag and the digest and the contents is air.
So it doesn't really.
An insulator.
Yeah, it's like, so you have to heat somehow from below, to get the heat into the liquid.
We have to have space between the black bag and the digester.
Yes, there has to be headspace for sure to collect the
Ah,
gas.
it's the headspace. Okay, the bag itself is not the digester. I thought it was, that it would just blow up a little bit once in a while.
Oh, I guess you could make it that way. I haven't seen them operate like that.
Maybe that's a bit dangerous, right? If there's a hole in it, then yeah.
But you know what they do for passive houses? I mean, so for a passive house, they have a concrete floor that extends out beyond the footprint of the actual house. And the concrete is a thermal conductor, right? And it grabs the solar, it grabs that solar radiation and radiates it inside the house. So what you could do is you could, on the principle of like trying to heat from below, you could extend like some sort of conductive material out, let the solar radiation hit that, and then radiate it back under the digester to avoid that. If that's what he's saying, right? Like, because you are hitting the headspace, which is insulating it from the heat, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have that radiating floor, but have it be a passive solar conductive.
It's kind of interesting that he came up with that kind of conclusion, because we had somebody here, a master's student, do a project on just a normal digester with the gas space. And because essentially you've got a bubble on the top, and because it's a wet gas inside, it's not like it's an inert gas. So the wet gas does transfer more energy than perhaps, an inert gas would. So, he did some modeling on the gas bubbles, on the gas domes, and remember, those tend to be double skinned on the large industrial digesters. But even then, because of the wetness of the gas, it transferred more energy than you would have thought on, if that weren't the case.
But I wonder if now heating from the bottom does induce some mild convective movement so that you can help mix. Like I wonder now if heat transfer is not an issue, and so I wonder if, like, because mixing is like a potential issue, right? Mixing will help you with gas production and pathogen reduction and everything else, but you don't want to have a motor or anything else that's going to cause a maintenance problem. So I wonder if like a heating from underneath helps with this mild, tiny convective motion in there, if it's just not enough heat. I don't know, but now I'm curious.
I did know of a digester that had very bad thermal management, and it turned out that they were heating the digestate as part of the mixing in too small of a space, and it was basically killing the microbes during the heating. So my concern would be, if you have enough temperature difference to create convection, you might also be killing the microbes where that in the hot pipe, next to the hot pipe. Not that it would be a big deal because you get a lot of volume, but eventually you would maybe attenuate your biology by killing microbes at too high of a temperature.
We're dealing with hyperthermophilic critters right now. These guys are super resilient. I'm not advocating for boiling. I'm just curious about like the thermodynamics of what is the temperature difference that you would have to generate within the depth of the digester to get motion. Like, is it like a 20-degree difference? Because then if it's a yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have now I have a thermodynamics question.
Well, when we were building heat exchangers, like if we have on our small farm digesters, if we had like an annular heat exchanger, we
Yeah.
would tend to two things, not keep that water too hot.
Sure.
So we couldn't really take it above 60 degrees because what would happen is stuff would bake on to the heat
Yes,
exchangers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we would also have mixing pipes. So we would use gas mixing in this case and not, and we would have mixing pipes under those heat exchangers, on the annular heat exchangers, so that it would basically, you know, keep things moving past the, but in a passive system, yeah, hard to say.
I don't
but
know. If you have a warmed, if a Greenlandic digester is sitting on a warm concrete slab, is that temperature differential enough to do anything? Is it? Maybe not. I don't know.
But to be fair, that's what Jasmine did with hers, didn't she? She put the heating blankets underneath at the bottom of her home biogas thing,
Of
didn't
the
she?
home
From
biogas?
memory?
Oh, did
Yeah.
she? I thought my memory was she wrapped it, but
Yeah, I knew she'd wrapped it, but I thought she'd had them underneath as well. Like I thought she had foam and then like a heating blanket,
Huh.
but my memory is faulty these days. So
We'll have to go back. This is why we record them. How much fun is this?
So what is your schedule for that project? How do you start? Where?
Yeah, so Jane's project, I don't know what the schedule is right now because we still have to be we still have letters to sign and contracting. So all the contracting stuff has to still get worked through. And I personally don't know how long that takes with NATO. I am working on a contract with a research institution in Spain, and that's been 2 years, and we just finally got everything buttoned up. So I have no idea how long it takes to get NATO contracted. Anybody? Angie, Judith, anybody? Any idea? So it could be months before we actually get a tranche of money to start. I don't know. I don't know that process. But we have a letter saying that we won it. We just now have to get everything signed. So I'm sure you'll hear no end of it once once it's under contract. You'll hear no end of it. I like your agenda, Alex.
Alex, did you get my email about a few of the other small scale people?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just opened it to get those other links. And I also ran across these people, Thea Allery from Alder Bio Insights, formerly known as NNFCC. And from the on-farm, Thea.
Oh, she's one of their baby consultants. Yeah, she's one of their baby consultants. The senior consultant there would be Lucy Hopwood, who is yeah, she's there. What Lucy Hopwood doesn't know about AD probably isn't worth knowing.
Yeah. So I appreciate your email here. Embrae and Margaret, you're on this as well about micro biogas, whereas I'm trying to apply this to less micro, but it's good to have these people in my network. So yeah.
Yes. So that one that you were talking about that Thea wrote, she basically did the update for we got a whole bunch of people together to talk about small farm AD, and it was actually at one of the plants that is a bioelectric plant, which is a very simple, it's basically a tin can, plastic bag, and a mixer, and made just for cow slurry. So we were looking at that, as well as the Chris Mann system that he spoke at one of the previous meetings, which is the covered system. And we were looking at some of the challenges with regulation and how these could possibly be supported in future. So there probably will be a follow-up meeting to that as well, in terms of trying to better understand that sort of more farm scale AD size stuff, but both on the passive scale, like the covered slurry store where you capture and utilize gas, to the more active scale, like a proper farm digester. But I think the names of the people I gave you were working very much at that micro scale, and also on the education side. So Kathy Puffer has a sort of a proper educational suite of programs that if people want to learn about AD at this scale, rather than trying to cast about and find good information, she's pretty much done that work for people.
Yeah, I'll drop that link right in here. Interesting. I think I've seen this link before. There's a small group here in New England that's been pushing small scale biogas. I haven't been able to sort of track what they're actually doing, but this Kathy Puffer, I think, is in the United States. And
yeah. She's based in New
over
York.
in New York State. Yeah. Right.
She's in New York State. And because she does that biogas education, I think she's got it tends to be pretty good value. It tends to be well structured because she's an educator, you know, that's her job, her day job. And she's got experience probably more on warm climate stuff, but a lot of those sorts of understanding bits are behind her courses. So I mentioned the group. She said she'd be happy to chat to us if we wanted.
Here's Jaime's more recent paper, everyone.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. And that's where I was riffing on that whole idea that the headspace was an insulator. He and I had some back and forth on LinkedIn about that, but I think we were saying the same thing. Language can be a barrier. But Wilder, you might want to check that out. See what he comes up with there.
Do you have a PDF of it, Alex?
Do I? Yeah. You kidding me? What do you think I am? Some Shlomo? No, I don't. Buy this article, 42 pounds.
I think I have it somewhere, but do I need to ask Jaime if I can share it?
You know what? He did actually share like a pre something, and let me get that, because I think you're allowed to share things before they or whatever. You know, there's like these rules with this academic stuff. Right on the room.
Okay.
Lily.
Yeah, it looks like it's only, I must have only read the abstract. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I don't think, let's see. What's the publisher? Who's the publisher?
Sustainable Energy and Fuels.
Oh, it's Royal Society of Chemistry.
Yes, Royal Society of Chemistry.
We can ask him. Maybe he can send us a version, no?
Yeah.
Yes, I will email him that the best minds in small biogas for cold and high climates are clamoring for his paper, because you know what? He said he was going to be here this month and then he canceled.
Where is he? Is he celebrating the paper? Or?
Yeah.
It's summer.
I think you will be having a celebration, Embry, or have you already?
Well, you know, Jane cautioned me to not get too like to not get any cake until we actually have like the signed contract, right? So yes, we have the award, but let's get everything buttoned up. Make sure that everybody's, like, let's get the first tranche of funding in, get the contract signed, letters signed, and then I can have some cake. But yes, yes. All right, what else?
Agenda for next time. I just put a pin in a couple of things. Yeah,
Cool.
it's too bad the recording doesn't capture the chat, or does it?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay,
No, you have to grab stuff out of it as it comes in.
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Any other suggestions so we'll try to get Jasmine for next time. Should we meet in August? I seem to remember that last year we didn't meet in August, or we took 1 month off.
We usually take the summer off, but since we've already gotten June and July under our belts, I don't see a reason to not meet unless people
Okay,
want
that's
summer
fine with me.
vacation.
Yep. I mean, us, the 5-6 person brain trust, for what that's worth. Okay, sounds good. So we'll yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Alex.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks, Judith. Great presentation.
Yes.
I'm very excited. We'll come visit.
You don't look like you're in Greenland right now, though.
I'm in Quebec right now, and yeah, it's not what I signed up for. I was told
Yeah.
cold. But I will move back to Greenland within a year or two, and it will be fine. Yeah.
So you've been there and back already?
So I was living in Greenland before the last 4 years, when I worked with Pernille and so on.
Ah.
Then I came here for this. It's a postdoc position to help that project get started, but I don't intend to stay very long. I want to go back and develop toilet interfaces and treatment systems for Greenland.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
All right, carry on. Thanks, everyone.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks all. Bye.